thanks. No one's in yet, but that'll change. All right. Inviting. I sent. There's a lot of people that are gonna have electricity issues. What's that? Did you click on the meeting? Oh, yeah. But you didn't click on the link yet? Got it. You did? You're not in there? Oh, I see. Got it. It's taking a long time to connect. Out of filters. All right, so you're in. That's good. Okay. Yep. Thank you. Stop it. You're gonna spook Jim. Whenever no one has shown up yet, I'm always nervous that I like sent out the wrong link. What's that? Sounds small. That's fair. Does he what? Sorry. Hey, Andrew.
Hey Tucker, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
Yeah, I love the Chemex going on in the background.
Oh yeah. Yes. We got a nice little blend from a local coffee place, Olympia Coffee.
Ooh,
Tastes pretty solid. It says flavors of sweet berry, stone fruit, and chocolate. But it always just tastes like coffee to me. I don't know. My palate's like not that like advanced, I guess, but very tasty.
good.
Well, I'm glad that you came in, and then we just had someone jump in. Austin and I started getting a little antsy because no one was showing up, and I was like, did I send out the wrong date? Did I send out like the wrong link? I was like, am I in the right spot? So I'm glad at least someone
Yeah,
It
joined
might
us.
just be the three of us though.
I wouldn't complain.
No, I especially because it's you. Like I know that today will be a success. So
Oh,
if it was just some random people, I don't know. Oh, and then we have Garth Fell. Good to see you, buddy. See, today will be a win. It's all good. Here's your copy.
Could you pass one this direction?
I wish. It is kind of funny because I just realized like if someone really likes coffee, like fancy coffee, like this is kind of torture. It's like I'm gonna make this nice, and we have leftover. Oh man, I guess we'll have to throw it down the drain.
Oh,
Yeah,
hurts.
sorry, buddy.
Can I ask you a super nerdy coffee question?
Yeah,
What temp do you get your water to?
207 is what I have gone to. Is that too hot for you?
I've experimented with some lower, like even in the 190s, upper 190s.
Oh, really?
When you
I've
talk
not
about the
done
taste,
Yeah.
it seems it might have just been the beans as well. I gotta isolate variables, but
Yeah.
a little bit more of those subtler profiles coming out.
Yeah. At the lower temps.
Trying to play with that in the
Okay. I might have to try that because
grind.
I just read online like 205, 207, and then that's what I've done. But I'm definitely down to experiment. And just so you know, I'm always okay with nerdy coffee questions.
Love it.
Yeah, just bring them on. It's funny because I didn't actually like coffee until I went on a little business trip with some of our colleagues from our design team down to Utah to get a machine. And because of the time difference and I was not used to getting up early at that time, like coffee became essential at that moment. And I tried it for the first time and I've been kind of hooked ever since. And now I'm like more on the coffee geek scale than they are. So,
Hey, let's be clear. You used to like sugar with a little bit of coffee, and
No.
trick changed you too.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I used to like the mocha frappuccinos. You know, that's how I could get it down. That's fair. Thank you, Oz, for bringing that up.
I love it. I stepped right into a Tucker therapy session. Perfect.
Hi, Todd. Welcome.
Yeah. How you doing, buddy?
You know, hanging in there.
Well caffeinated, I'm sure.
Always. All right. Cool. So it is 10. It's a smaller group today, but that's okay because by looking at the audience, it's going to be a good group regardless of the size. Size does not matter. So I'm going to go ahead and get started, and then more people can trickle in. So as many of you know, my name is Tucker. I've been kind of on all of these calls over the past few months, and we've been going over this thing called the Daily Management System, or DMS for short. Yeah, this has been kind of a highlight of my month, to be honest, being with all of you guys, kind of talking through different concepts that we've kind of stumbled upon. With me, I have some special guests. So we have a return guest from a couple months ago. We have Darren Wright. Darren, why don't you quickly introduce yourself, give your short little bio, so we know who you are.
Well, I'm 54. I have slightly gray brown hair. I'm married. No, just kidding. No, I've been at Cost Tailored for about 30 years and production manager in my current role. Worked my way through the Gemba, up through the Gemba. Yeah, and so I've been along this lean journey for the entire time, and it's been looking back on it. It has been quite a journey, but that's been the fun of it too. You know, things always changing, and I should actually, let me put it this way: not changing, but improving for the better. So,
Oh, there you go.
you know, yeah.
Very on brand.
Change
Nice.
is good, but it has to have a purpose, correct? So
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, and then we have the next person is a first time around these calls, though you may recognize them from some Q&A segments if you've been through before. We have Todd Peterson. Todd, why don't you introduce yourself? Also been here for a while, just like Darren.
Yeah, you can just keep going and I don't have to talk. So, yeah. So Todd, and my goal is to see if I can make Tucker blush during this call. So if you see him turn red, then mission accomplished. So
Yeah, it's been a while since you've achieved that mission, so we'll see.
I'm going to work hard at it. So my title is Ops Manager, like Darren. I'm one of the other crabby old guys here that's been here over 30 years. Started in the wood shop as a one-man wood shop, and again, like Darren said, it's been a great lean journey. We've done some great things, and we started out doing some poor things, and so we've learned along the way. So I think we're as good as we've ever been at it right now, and maybe we can share a few things that will help you along your journey today.
Yeah, for sure. And then last person that we have with us is Ken. Ken, why don't you introduce yourself?
Yep. Hi, everyone. Ken Garbertson. I'm the general manager here. And I officially started here over 30 years ago as well. Yeah, I don't know what else you guys want to know about me. Guess we'll get to that.
Yeah, we'll definitely get to that. So, okay. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna kind of go over the previous concepts that we've kind of been diving into here for daily management system, just to kind of refresh us. So we first started off talking about strategy. So that's kind of obviously the first key ingredient is where are we going? Who are we trying to become both as individuals and also corporately? And then the second thing we talked about, I believe, was the daily huddle system, which has been a very key part of kind of, especially the last year, that's just become much more fruitful. And much more beneficial. And so I think one of the guys here, I think Todd will be talking a little bit more about the DMS huddles. And then the last thing we're going to talk about currently is the leader standard work. So the kind of, in a nutshell, is basically like, what are the habits, routines that we have in place to help us become different versions of ourselves in the future, better leaders, better fathers, in our cases, husbands, that sort of thing. So all those fun things. And then thank you. I was like, there's 4, and it will eventually come to me. Visual management is another one, and that's what Oz taught a couple months ago. So those are the kind of the 4 elements. The last one here we're gonna get to is leader standard work. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna kick you guys into breakout rooms just like we normally do. I'm gonna go ahead and copy and paste into the chat here so you guys don't get too confused. Like always, we try to keep these kind of more kind of fun and engaging. And so, yeah, so basically the question is, what is standard work? But before that, of course, introduce yourself. We're gonna give you 10 minutes so that you can totally like get to know each other, everyone's life story, whatever. And then also go into kind of what is standard work. And we'll kind of debrief that a little bit before talking about the more specific leader standard work. And then for the cost people on the call, please don't go into the room. That'd be odd. Okay, I created all the rooms. Have some fun, and I'll see you guys in about 10 minutes. So yeah, 10:15. Thank you. Except for Robert, if you're there and willing to participate, please you can jump off. The Blossers. Or maybe he's just AFK.
Hey, Tuck. So,
hi guys.
So do I just come back in 10 minutes then?
If you'd like to leave, yeah, or we could just
sit here and look at, so we could just stare at each other.
Yeah, yeah. If you come back at 10:15, that'd be fine.
Okay, we'll see you in 10.
Cool. Cool. Did he? Okay, he just hung up. That's cool. That's fine. And you guys can do the same if you like, unless you have any questions about anything.
No, I just, what do you think is a sequence here?
Yeah. Oh, that is. Thank you. I have it on my notes here. So I'm
Cool.
thinking we'll start with the guy that just left us, Darren, because his is on the dashboarding thing. I think it's good to start kind of more towards the task level and like more specific, and then go towards more complex, where we'll have Ken close us out. So Darren, Todd, Ken, and then the way it kind of works is I'll kind of lead the conversation. I'll ask Darren like, hey, what's one thing that you've kind of have added into your standard work, your standard habits over the last year or so? And then I'll ask like 1 or 2 follow-up questions for each of you guys. And then 10 minutes later, we'll send them to the second breakout room and stuff like that. So yeah. Yep. And then I typically like to have them try to add questions into the chat as we go. And if it's a question that makes sense, I might insert that. So I might go a little squirrel. So I'm sorry, Todd.
No, that's all right. I'm learning to live with that and embrace it.
Embrace the squirrel.
You got 2 folks on here. It looks like Diane and Charlotte. Are they supposed to be in a breakout room that are with us right now?
Yeah, but they might be in maybe another meeting, or
Okay.
I don't know.
Okay.
Their cameras
Just wanna
off.
make
So
sure that they had the instructions they needed. Okay.
yeah. And then the other thing is, since I have you, Ken, have you given it much thought on? I know that right now, like it's been kind of a wild year, but with internships, have you thought about the potentially using that as a short-term fix for like the frame shop or other areas? I know that in other areas like upholstery and sewing, that's less of a need, but do you have any thoughts on that?
Are you asking if I'm interested in having you approach Western to see if you have any candidates that want to
Yeah.
come for 3 months?
Yeah.
I don't see the harm.
Cool.
Yeah, wood shop wouldn't be a bad one.
Okay, I'll do that. I just want to make sure before I'm like, oh yeah, there's an internship, and then be like, oh, actually, sorry, no. So cool. Yeah, I think obviously I was talking to Darren about it too, and he was like, yeah, well, it doesn't solve the like long-term issue. And I was like, well, yeah, but it solves like the short-term capacity problems, but also when you get better at onboarding and training and having some candidates that are, they could help us get through that learning curve a little faster. And then the way that I've done these breakout rooms is I typically will have them like reflect, if you will, into the chat and just kind of just put them through. And then I'll kind of like read out ones that stick out. And then if you guys have any thoughts, whether you see it in the chat or something you hear that you want to like add, I see it as almost like I'm like, in football terms, I'm like the play-by-play guy, and like you guys are kind of like more the color commentators, where it's like, oh yeah, that's you can add or not, it's totally fine. Yeah. And then we'll kind of, that usually takes like a minute or 2, and then we'll get into the introducing the story time. Yeah. Do you have anything to add, Oz? Did I forget anything?
You're assuming I was paying attention?
Yes.
No, I didn't.
That was awesome. And then, although when Darren gets back on the call, I'm sure I will miss something. All I can do is my perspective on the DMS huddles and what I'm doing differently. Feel free to chime in. I think that's how Tucker and I have worked pretty good, at least in the Q&As that I've been involved in, is play pile on.
Yeah.
And if it's, I can do the same for you if you want it. If not, I'll shut my pie hole.
Yeah, I think that's part of why I think doing this together is really impactful, because it allows for a little bit of quality control, building in quality of like, oh man, you missed a huge step, or even like, here's Ken's perspective on daily huddles would be like super valuable because a lot of it's serving him. So yeah. Yeah, but also be mindful. We're trying to keep the whole teaching segment to be rather short because we want to get into definitely get into the Q&A portion. But
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you're the host.
I can make it as short as you want.
Sounds good.
Looks like Darren already did.
Yeah. So on the call, just so you guys know, we have I don't know all these people probably because like I don't know all their names, but we have a couple people from our from Holland that we know, like Peter and Twan, and then we have a couple people from Nordstrom, of course. We have one from Stryker, one from Avalon Apparel down in California. Actually, one more from Stryker. The guy from Sand, S-A-A-N-D, they make glass in Canada. Stan's here from the Dutch summer camp. Ethan, who's from Cascade Medical. So yeah, a lot of people. And hi, Mario. Welcome in. Cool, I think, okay, I'll give it a couple more minutes, especially because Darren's not back and he's on deck.
Right on, Darren.
Yeah, he's having quite the day, right, Todd?
I don't know. Apparently, he's not too happy with me, but we've got some leather issues I think that are going on. He's called stop production. So I've got a call at 11, but I think we need to get down there, probably Ken and I, and help get this thing moving. Make sure we're aligned.
So you need to be off like a couple minutes before 11.
Well, I'm kind of the fly on the wall at the 11 o'clock call. I'm there to watch Ken explode.
That meeting's going on. Cool. Well, my plan is to end about 3 minutes early to do like the call to action, closing remarks. So when I do that, you guys can just bounce. That's totally fine. If you have to go earlier, like totally, just take off.
Well, it's not like I have to physically go anywhere. I just click another button and I'm there.
Okay, that's fair. The ISIS call or ISS?
Hold on, this is with the supply chain.
Oh, got it. That's right.
Yes, it is just going to be a conference call. It's not a Zoom call. It's calling his cell number.
Okay,
cool.
Got it.
Nice, perfect.
Now I can
You
say.
guys, okay, got it. I can be there in 1.5 minutes at the most.
Cool. All right, Darren's connecting. All right, Darren, just a heads up, we all voted and you're going first. So I'll ask you a question. Basically, the question is what have you learned, or what's one thing you added to your standard work over the last year? And I'm closing the room. And then I'll ask, you're on mute, so maybe fix that before continuing on.
Read lips, even though you're muted still.
I'm not able to unmute very easy for some reason. So, hey, Tucker, quit being a smart ass.
Okay.
So the question that you just asked me is not what was the original question. So now you're making me have to run around. So.
No, that's what we discussed this morning with the use of the dashboards. That's one thing you've added. Yeah. Aren't you doing that daily, monitoring the production shop floor?
Yeah, I guess I was just reading Todd's card that just said one thing that I'd started and stopped.
Yeah.
Yeah, same thing.
Yeah. It's just worded differently with the standard work thing. But I'll word it the other way. That's fine.
However you're comfortable.
Okay. Either way, that's your answer. All right. So we have, looks like everyone's trickling out of the rooms. So welcome back. So first things first, let's put a pin on the standard work piece. So if you could in the chat, just type in whatever you guys kind of came up with, whatever you discussed around some thoughts around like what is standard work at a high level. We have our definition that we've been using, which I'll share as well, but I'd love to hear. So just drop that in the chat. basically in the standard work video on standard work, which I recognize is like super meta and crazy, like Inception. It's basically standard work is just the agreed upon way to do something is what we have used as kind of our litmus test for what is standard work. So it's basically not even necessarily the best way, often though sometimes that's kind of the goal, is to make one best way. So, okay, Ethan here says, one best way to do a task that results in reliable, high quality outcome. Nice. So yeah, there's definitely a quality element, right? We want it to be safe and high quality, ideally not just crappy quality, especially here at Cost. We definitely have emphasis on the quality piece. Amy said a repeatable process to gain the same outcome each time. Yeah, it's that consistency, right? Where you wouldn't want a process that's like going to get you varying results. That wouldn't be very helpful. Really good. Cool. Awesome. And then Courtney's group talked about standard work. That's totally fine because that's kind of what we're talking about. So that's okay. You went more specific, no problem. Yeah, and then Jay, provide for consistency doing tasks. Really good. So keep dropping that if you want. And then also as we go, if you have questions, I'll have the chat open here on my other screen. So if you have any questions, just feel free to use that. And we like to answer those kind of in flow. So if you ask a question that is applicable to what we're talking about, I might ask that. So, okay, so we're gonna go into the storytelling piece here with Darren, Todd, and Ken. So let's start with Darren. Darren, the last year has been kind of crazy for all of us on the call, and even in particular us here at Cost Tailored. So what's one thing that you maybe started doing in the last year that has been impactful for you as you we've all been kind of learning about this new phrase, leader standard work. And by the way, just so everyone's very clear, we just started working on officially leader standard work within the last year. So it's still something that we're kind of in process and learning. So we're not by any means experts at all. So we're still in the learning mode. So please be gracious. But Darren, what's one thing that you've kind of focused on in the last year?
Well, it kind of all revolves around knowing and showing the truth on our labor metrics and our daily throughput. I'm going to try to screen share a couple things here. I'll start out with,
sweet.
Let's see here.
It should be enabled. So
we're going to screen share this. So one of the challenges that we had over the years we have so many part numbers that flow through so quickly that at some point years ago, we decided that all our labor for this one department went into just a general bucket. And it didn't allow us really to, outside of doing a lot of manual processes of really knowing where we were at on any given part. It was more of an autopsy at the end of the day. And so we came up with this QR scanning. So an employee starts a job, for every single part, the example on this one here, you can see it's part number 8 of 8. So it was an order of 8. The QR is specific to each part. So they scan that, and then let's go back to, we're going to share again. And we're going to shoot this up here. So what we were able to do is create a dashboard within the department. So this is an upper level dashboard that shows the status of all the lines that are producing these parts based on them scanning the QR. Once it is inspected, it is 100% complete. And so it automatically does that. And so at any given time, we have 2 of these screens around the department that are, I can walk by, the lead can walk by, they can see these up there. Along with that, what feeds that, let's see here, what feeds that is at the end of each line, we have an iPad, and it shows the specific information for that line. So let's, if you're the lead and you see the dashboard up there that's red, and you can walk over to the line and you can dive into the specifics. So you can see on this particular one, there's a job there that they're working on the 10th, the last one. And then to the right, my eyesight's horrible, but I think it says 16 minutes left. So they were green and they have 16 minutes left before they turn red. Along with that, so the reason why we kind of went down this path is for the obvious reasons. It's difficult to do an autopsy without knowing the specifics throughout the day, and so this allows us to react immediately. We also have andon cups that we change green, yellow, red for issues in the line. And previously, culturally, we have a lot of, we have a culture in our department that struggles to admit the truth. Like if saying they're red, it's kind of shameful in their background. And so the idea that we would actually be able to consistently rely on them to change those andon cups right when we needed to. And so we use the cups specifically more often than not right now for just issues that are happening within the line. And the dashboard is really telling us the whole story. And so the lead can really go and, if they want to, can dig in and actually see if one of those jobs was red on the inline dashboard, they would be able to dig in and actually see the areas of what was causing that to be red. So,
so what you're kind of getting at is basically by knowing the truth, you can, the people in leadership can take timely action. Now, real quick, and then we got to move on to Todd. Like how do they show up in terms of the leaders to be able to make sure that that fear that you mentioned doesn't become a serious problem where it starts hiding the truth?
Well, they have to show up consistently in a support manner. It can't be why aren't you green? It's more of a coaching and helping, and that takes time. So you know, you got to consistently show up in a way that removes the fear. So yeah, and then what was your other question? Didn't you have another question, or are you kicking me out?
That answered it. No,
Okay.
That's great. No, great answer. Yeah, that's
and I remember doing this last time. For those of you on here, if you guys have any questions after this, and just enter it into the chat, and I'll have the chat open, and I can respond directly to you if I have something to say. So
yeah, really good. Well, Ethan's question in there is really applicable, so we'll hit on this before moving on to Todd. Is reviewing the dashboard or running the line someone or even your standard work at certain intervals, or how does that built into like your day, Yelena's day, Juan's day? How does that look like at a practical level?
Yeah, we have 3 support people in the department, and that is their job, is to manage through that. For me, I'm walking around the shop constantly, so you know, it's not something that I say, oh, I think I'm going to go over to crew seating and see what their dashboard looks like. I'm on the Gemba, and I'm naturally curious, and with them being up on the wall, it's pretty straightforward. So, but yeah, I suppose the standard work would be as those 3 individuals. That is their responsibility, is to support those lines. So
it's less that like
they're your first responders, right, Darren?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good way of putting it. Awesome. Well, thank you, Darren. That's really good. Let's move on to Todd. Todd, same question. What is something that you've added as a habit or routine over the last 9-12 months that you'd like to talk about?
Sure. And then I invite my cohorts to chime in case I miss something, because I'm old and I forget things. Yeah. So what I've stopped doing is we used to do individual check-ins with all of our team members, and that was great. You had to speak to them one-on-one daily for 5 minutes a time, and it helped keep a pulse on the group. But what we've implemented kind of post-COVID is and you've heard Tucker talk about the DMS, or daily management system. We're being more intentional about the timing with our groups and how we meet and what we do, and how we keep visibility of what our commitments are. So I don't know if any of you are familiar with an app called Trello, and I don't have any fancy screen share like Darren, so I'd pull up our Trello board, but there might be something on there you shouldn't see, so I won't do that.
Probably. Yeah.
But basically, we have a series of columns that we review in the same sequence every day. So I'll go into the Trello board a little bit here in a second. But what I do personally is I meet with my team. My title's kind of weird. It's operations manager, but I'm really responsible for integrating new designs and get them ready for Darren's team to build and deliver. So purchasing, quality, procurement, all those parts that bring things into the system. So anyways, as part of our meeting, I meet with my direct reports every day, and we have the same columns. We have, do you need any help with anything? Do you want to share anything you think is relevant for the team? Do you appreciate anybody? And then really we have a column for our cards of what are we doing today? So
yeah, and Todd, just so you know, for context, I know we've talked about this before, but Jeff did teach on our huddles like 2 months ago, and a lot of these people were there. So you don't have to go into like the nitty gritty necessarily, but what I think would be more interesting is what are some things that have changed with how you're maybe leading this team. And like you were just saying about you were kind of just saying that before you started transitioning towards the more tactical side. So what are some other ways that you've kind of transformed your kind of standard work around that?
Yeah, so thanks for keeping me out of the weeds. I think the biggest thing, so instead of meeting with the individuals one-on-one, what we've done is we meet as a group, and then all the individuals get to share these themes that we're talking about. So what we're getting from that is, hey, make sure we have alignment on issues. We're making sure there's end-to-end growth because people understand where they're at in the process, what they have going on, and how it may or may not affect others. So then I think the other key thing is the timing of it. So, I'll meet with my direct reports at 7. Then we have a management and key lead meeting at 7:30, where we can pass on any of the information or escalate any of the information that the next team needs to know. And I think another key element that has really helped us is our accountability, as we have a closing meeting at 4:30 at the end of the day to touch on what we were planning on doing today, what did we expect, what happened, and what did we learn. So, and then as part of that meeting, we also have a host that holds us accountable to those things. So, and that host kind of rotates. And so, yeah, I think that's really it. And we also have participant standard work as well. And I think I'm getting down into the weeds, but
you're starting to dip down there. It's all good.
Key learning is it keeps the teams aligned. Yeah.
And I think from my perspective, I've definitely seen a different level of conversations happen and quicker. The communication flow and action is a lot more streamlined and a lot less, delayed, I guess, by literally probably saves us a week on a lot of those things. So really good. Thank you for sharing. Let's move on to Ken. So Ken, same question as the other guys. What's one thing that you've added in terms of a habit over the last year or so?
Yeah, so thanks, Tucker. To help me out, has anyone talked to any of these teams over the weeks about Kata?
I think Jeff has hinted at Kata, but he has not gone into Kata at all. So thank you for checking.
That's one of the things that I was wanting to talk about then with the team here today. Over the last year, we've really looked to deploy Kata as a tool for us, and basically we've had outside consultant came in and trained us on this, and it really is helping us with deploying our company top level goals, and it flows it all the way down through the process to how that challenge that's been given to us for that top level goal can be contributed by each and every section and department and such. So that's something that has drastically changed how we manage the business. And for me, in the seat of the general manager, I'm given these challenges by Jeff, the president, CEO, owner, and it's my responsibility to make those changes happen within the organization. So I've definitely relied on Kata as we've rolled that out over the last 6 to 9 months, and I'm seeing the evidence of success through that. So it's been really helpful. As Todd had mentioned, it's another way for us to have end-to-end thinking, similar to the tools he was talking about. The tool itself forces us to think more in smaller chunks, more bit than batch. Our old method was more of a Hoshin-Connery plan that you would assign a goal to one individual. There was very little teaming involved with that. There was limited feedback once a month. We had a routine of checking in on that. Now this is often either 2 to 4 times a week. I'm seeing the coaching sessions happening between the coach and the learner. And they're running a series of experiments to try to eliminate obstacles from us reaching target conditions that are set, that are trying to move us towards that ultimate challenge. So again, it's very visual. The Kata system itself normally uses a big sheet of paper on the wall to track this. We've transitioned over to what Todd was mentioning. We use Trello, it's digital. So anyone can access it from whether they're working remotely or here. We use Zoom meetings to have those coaching calls. I'm usually trying to be a second coach for many of those to oversee it and kind of give some guidance. So I'm very involved in understanding how things are progressing. If I don't make those meetings, if I'm interested, I can go and see that short recording from that Zoom call. So it's really transformed how I can stay connected with what's going on in the business and how we're trying to progress towards our top level goals. So
yeah, and so for those of you who don't know Ken's role as the GM, we call him the conductor of our orchestra. His job is to listen to the music and optimize the sound and balance in the organization. So Ken, how has Kata helped you do your job better going forward?
Yeah, so again, staying very connected with the activities of the business, listening to what one section might be doing, and I'm able to relay that on to other sections. So as an example, what Darren shared with the little QR scanning, we're in the middle of trying to rapidly deploy that throughout our production areas. And so as I'm listening to Todd do the coaching with his IT team in deploying that, and I'm also listening what's going on with Darren and his teams, I've been able to quickly connect the dots and try to guide that in a more streamlined, efficient way versus a lot of rework and frustration. So yeah, just it's been really big.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, there's a question that just came through, and I'll put this to any of you three because you are all involved with this. Do you record all the huddles, and are those available to all the team members? So who'd like to talk about, maybe Todd, since you're kind of over the IT team and you've been kind of more involved with that permissions and distribution?
Yeah, no, we do record the huddles, and I think Ken kind of, the same reason we record the Kata coaching session is the same reason we record the huddles, because we might have a team member that may be out, and this way they can still watch the meeting and get connected. So unfortunately I say a lot of things that I wish I didn't say sometimes. So some of those recordings are not all that useful, but anybody that needed that data can go back and get that data. So
yeah, for sure. Yeah. Cool. So what we're gonna do, we have one more breakout room to send y'all to. And Jay, just so you know, I don't know what you said in the last breakout room, but your entire room has left. And so I put you in room 5 with Chrissy and James, because I know that they'll take care of you. So I'm gonna open up the room after I put in the question. I learned that the first month. So what I want you to do is describe so you've heard like our kind of typical day in some of these guys' shoes, but I'd love to hear from you guys. What is a typical day in your shoes? Spend only 90 seconds, so set a timer if you have to, and kind of reflect on what the typical day looks like, and then we'll reflect as a group before doing some Q&A. So I'll give you about 7 minutes, so keep it brief, and then I'll see you on the other side.
Hey, Todd, you're going to have to lose the old man shtick. It's getting kind of old.
Yeah, refresh that.
I'm embracing it. You should too.
Nice.
Ouch. Oh, God.
Yeah. So what can Ken and I do? I know we're kind of getting off topic here. Tucker, do you
Fine.
want us to hang? Are we still hanging around for the next?
Yeah,
Portion?
yeah. I need you guys for Q&A, and then if you have to go, obviously take off.
No.
I can field
No,
the
no, no.
questions, but it'd be better.
No, I just saw
Finish up.
Darren's line stopper on leather, and I want to respect that and
Yep.
help us get unstuck.
Yeah, you guys can figure that out. I'm not gonna make that call, but
Yeah.
So you would have been proud of me, Todd. I got called down there. I don't know. It was probably 9:30, somewhere in there, and they were explaining the issue. They have 19 headrests. So Jesse did a combination of parts, right? But there's 3 different work orders for a total of 19 headrests. And so when I started asking, so what's the certain date? What's the lot? You know, is this the same lot? Nobody could give me any answers. So I said, call me when you have the answers. Because I said, that's the first thing that you guys are going to ask. And I says, I'm not escalating a line stopper until we have all the information. So.
Cool. And it looks like you got your information. So
Yeah.
we'll do next steps after the call. Cool.
Yep.
I am proud of you.
Tucker.
Darren. I'm
Yeah.
proud of you.
Thanks,
Hey, when
Grandpa.
you go through the Q&A,
Grandpa.
you're
Yes.
gonna have to. On my iPad, I don't have clear
On the
visibility of all the chats, so you're gonna have
Oh
to.
yeah, I never
Run that.
normally read it out anyways because
Yeah.
not everyone can see that. Yeah.
Yep.
Do you guys know what an Obeya board is?
Nope.
Okay. Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah, I do.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I was in. Hi there.
Oh.
Hi
Hey.
there, Tucker. I was in room 2,
Hey.
but there was no one else.
Okay. There you go. Welcome back.
No worries.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know what an Obeya room is. It's a big room. It's Japanese for big room, and there you have your strategy pulled out to what you're doing, what the results are. Actually your plan to check act, but then in a wall visual made.
Okay.
And I made one for
Cool.
the improvement project I'm on. I made one digital.
Okay. Nice.
Yeah.
Really cool. Really cool. Yes. There's a question from Charlotte on there, but that's a word that I've heard, but I haven't seen it yet.
Okay.
So thank you.
You're welcome.
The destination guide. Yeah. 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 So we have it virtually, but not all in one spot, basically. Okay. Yeah. Cool. And then there's a question that Andrew asked. I'll be asking you, Ken, which is, have you been exposed to Kata before, and did the consultants help with your practice or knowledge? So maybe kind of talk like from what you did with your Visage group, where you talked about like our involvement with Mark Rosenthal. That would be kind of perfect for that question, where it kind of talks about like how he got started kind of thing.
Yeah. Yep.
Cool. Awesome. And there we go. Much better. Cool. I'm going to bring them back because close all rooms. They should be, most groups are about 2 or 3, so they should be done. Cool. Oh. That's funny. Okay, that's good. Everyone's taken the full 60 seconds to get back in, so that's always encouraging. The last thing I'd want to see is like close all the rooms and then everyone comes through. That would not be ideal. Cool, and right on schedule, so that's even better. All right, here they all come. All right, welcome back, everyone. There's a thing that I posted earlier, and I forgot to call attention to it, so I'm going to post it again in the chat. It's our blog and video clip talking about daily huddles. So if you want to revisit that and kind of, or if you haven't heard it yet, that's a good way to kind of get our kind of current state on the huddles from Jeff there. Cool. So if you could, while we kind of wait for questions to be kind of populated, if you could just dump in the chat, kind of maybe like a short reflection on what you guys talked about your current daily, like what it is to be a day in your shoes. It'd be really interesting to kind of see that. And of course, if your boss is on the call, you can message me directly. I won't share that. Yeah, and then we'll head into the Q&A. So the first question there that was posted by Andrew from Stryker, and you can see who that is because he has a big old Stryker right over his right shoulder there. So great question. How do we get started with Kata, which is kind of a little bit of a teaser for next month, where we'll have some kind of more focus on Kata, the ins and outs of Kata. But I think this would be a good question for Ken, since Ken kind of led the effort. So Ken, what was our kind of early beginnings? Because yes, the answer is yes, we did have consultants. We couldn't do it ourselves. We didn't know it. So Ken, take it away.
Sure. Yeah. So Tucker, maybe you can help remind me how long ago it was that Mark Rosenthal first came through here? A couple years ago now?
I think it was like 3 years ago when I first met Mark Rosenthal. Yeah.
Yeah. So he brought a client through on one of our tours and made a connection with our teams, and he had offered up to come in and train us along with several other companies at the same time, the Kata process. And it was like a 2-day event that we did. And through that was definitely exposed and trained up on the Kata process, but really never really stuck with us. And it wasn't until really this last year that we really embraced it and started to use it, and definitely relied on Mark Rosenthal to come in and help us. So through the structure of Kata, you've got the challenge, you've got, it's assigned to someone, they're termed the learner, and the learner has a coach that coaches them through it, which is normally their leader manager. And so we started off with like I said, a company challenge that was handed down to me from Jeff. Jeff then became the coach. I was the learner. And you also use often what's called a second coach, and that's the coach for the coach. So we just invited Mark Rosenthal, the consultant, to be that person for myself and Jeff as the coach. And that was, I was thrown into the fire, and I was rapidly learning through a series of coaching events that we had, and quickly determined that this was the way that we wanted to go this last year. And that's where we started to then roll it out, deploy it through the rest of the organization. So yeah, that's kind of how we got started on that journey, and definitely critical to have a consultant to help us identify all the tricks and the traps. So
yeah, that's a good way of putting it. Yeah, and that, it wasn't always easy early on. I know that there were definitely some struggles. I think one of the main ones that I heard was, from a lot of us on the call, even like where to do Kata by the book, it's a daily practice, and that was really hard early on, because I think our leader standard work, if you will, like a lot of our days, especially people in management, a lot of our days are spent like in meetings and dealing with like detail issues or, things that are more, in the leads courts. But this is something I've noticed a trend with at least the three of you guys, where it's been like really prioritizing Kata. I heard Darren like last week lament that because we're working less production days, that means less Kata experiments. So it's kind of cool to see like we basically followed the book, the Toyota Kata practice guide from Mike Rother, as closely as we can. And that plus Mark Rosenthal plus the team here working on it together, I think, yeah, that's how it's kind of progressed. So yeah, really good question, Andrew. The next one is, let's see, Charlotte asked about a digital Abaya board to manage our business. And if you don't know what that term is, I had to Google it and ask Tuan here. But basically, it's like normally like a room that you walk into that's like the dashboard for your business. And we don't necessarily have that, but we do have some aspects to that. So I think our Kata Trello boards are a big part of that, where it's digital, but it's like where you could, if you knew what to look for, you could kind of piece together the bits and pieces of our business, mixed with our other visual management system. I think also with our metrics, that would kind of be the closest thing there. But yeah, really good question. And that's all the questions we have in the mailbag. So if you have a question, feel free to either chat it or speak up, or we'll just spend the next 10 minutes looking at each other. That's fine too, I guess. Just kidding. Any other questions about leader standard work or anything under the sun? Okay, Tuan asking another Kata question, which is good because that definitely shows that there's some interest in that system. So what is the effect of using Kata? And this might be a good question to open it up to the other, the fours on the call, Todd and Darren. What are some of the impacts that you've seen in your part of the organization? Let's start with Todd. What's one way that Kata's impact the way that you lead your section?
Well, I'm going to be honest, it kind of tests my patience a little bit to take small incremental steps. Those up on the call that know me, that I work with, know I like to get things done and get them done in a hurry. So this challenges my patience. So, but what it does do is it allows you to take small experiments, change direction if you need to quickly, rather than get to the wrong conclusion. I guess would be the best way for me to say it. Yeah, Darren, you got anything to add?
Sure. So one of the things that I hear consistently from while I'm doing my coaching with the individuals that have Kata is there's a sense of accomplishment in the fact that we started out with Kaizen, where you end up with multiple countermeasures that you're potentially doing or going to try. And sometimes if the Kaizen was fairly large and encompassing, it felt like they weren't being successful or getting anything done. And so by having the Kata challenge and focusing on different target conditions to eliminate obstacles, or experiments to eliminate obstacles to meet the challenge, there's a sense of accomplishment. I mean, I have one gentleman down in the foam department that he's been rolling on a daily coaching cycle, and every single day he's getting something done, and you can see it just in the way that he shows up. It's exciting for him, and it's fun. So before it was a lot of the Kaizen activity. If it some individuals might cherry pick and just do small Kaizens just because they could get it done fairly quickly and feel good about themselves. And so, yeah, that's my 2 cents.
Yeah, that's really good. Yeah, the other thing I'd add is it also helps because it kind of backs up both of you, but specifically what Todd said about getting things down, like it makes it from this overwhelming, scary challenge, and like that immediately introduces fear, and then it kind of, the Kata process kind of removes a lot of that fear. I'm currently coaching one of the from the Nordstrom team. I don't really know her title, but it doesn't necessarily matter. And we're going through the obstacle list, and it became this like an item list. And then we were like the next step, which is to talk about like what's the one step that we want to do. It's one of those obstacles. And she shared with me that like when she first saw that obstacle list, she was super fearful and like started having like anxiety spike, right? But then she said, "Oh, I feel much better now that we've decided like just one little way to chip away at that challenge." So that's the benefit I've seen is like you can take something that's this hairy, scary, like we're gonna die if I don't figure this out, to like, oh, well, today I'm making a little step by having a conversation with a peer or whatever it is. So it kind of breaks out of the fear zone and into some safety. So yeah, really good question. I love this question by James here. When does, and this is to anyone, so whoever has the courage to answer this, when does your leader standard work generally break down? If it does, which I know that does for us from time to time. So what does fail mode look like?
For me, the simplest answer is if you don't have the discipline to do it every day, same way. That's really, you have to have the discipline to continue.
That's good.
That's
and Darren agrees. Cool. That's good.
Yeah, I totally agree, and I totally agree on that. I would say just in a real time situations, you know, for instance, like right now, we could have something planned at 11 o'clock, but when we get off of this meeting, we have a line stopper to go deal with. So, you know, real time situations on the Gemba can throw a wrench into it sometimes, but yeah, that's it.
That's good.
Hey, Tucker and Darren.
Yeah, go for it,
Question
James.
I would probably answer it the same way, Darren. For me, usually when my leader standard work does break down, it's when there's an like unanticipated event or a time sensitive one comes up, right? Where obviously you can't plan for everything, right? But sometimes things could come up where it's like, oh, well, I did have a plan for that time, but I'm not going to use it. Can't do it then, right? And then there's this, obviously you're going to shift your focus to address the fire, right? If it's significant enough to mess with your leader standard work rhythm, right? And then there's this, like I have to ask myself, okay, when do I get back to my leader standard work, right? It's like trying to find that point to
or
where,
adjust it. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Or is it just, I'm just writing this day off, right? And it's like, I'll
Going
try
home.
to get back. Yeah. Trying to get back on the schedule tomorrow. Right. All right. I'm curious as to how, what does that knee-jerk reaction look like to you? If there are any tips on how you could still make up your leader standard work, or is there a point where the value of an urgent matter overtakes, right? Like the need to like make a daily incremental process on that leader standard work.
Yeah, actually, I just kind of had this happen last week, and it we were in a meeting yesterday discussing. I was sharing this that last week I had something happen, and I in hindsight, I ended up not getting something, a couple things done, and but when I looked back on it, I should have probably stopped and pivoted to reviewing what I had left to do and prioritize that. And in that world, I would have prioritized, the standard work. So that's a learning for me, is I need to take a step back and evaluate, okay, it's 11 o'clock. Didn't get 2 things done. What do I got the rest of the day? What can I push out? What does the priority need to be?
Yeah.
So
I'd also argue, Darren, that you're following standard work. So you're following an escalation to solve a problem at the level that you're doing, and you probably are putting aside maybe some tomorrow or day after tomorrow work So it's not that you're stopping standard work. It's that today's issue or in the now, you are deviating to another one in order to solve the problem to go back to where you are.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks for that, Chris.
Well, and as somebody that usually ends up addressing some of these line stoppers with Darren, what I'm seeing him do differently with his team is when they escalate maybe a raw material quality issue, they have to make sure they have the standard in hand. So they have, this is why this raw material doesn't meet the standard. So he's holding them accountable to bring that. Then his time in that line stopper is shrunk, right?
Yeah.
I've already
That's really
done
good.
some of the background work to make sure they're prepared for the discussion.
Yeah. We're gonna get to the last question here, and then if you have follow-on questions, you all have my email address, and we can FaceTime or connect offline because other good questions we won't get to. But Garth's question specifically, what have you as leaders? I want this to go to Ken. This is a good question for you. What if we had to say no to as leaders to say yes to having time for coaching and huddles and these other things that have become more of our standard cadence? So I know for you, you've probably done the most effective job out of us to like basically recognize your main job as coach. I have to offload a bunch of stuff. So how has that worked?
Yeah, no, I think it's it's hard. I mean, I've been on this journey now for 9 months, and I've kind of cleared things. I'm sure I've done things along the way, but for sure I needed to really reflect on the things that were previously on that and just weigh the priority level and the importance of it, and those things that needed to get done, I had to delegate off to others to make that space. And it's still not perfect. I'm still not able to get it all done. It's still a work in process. So
Any input from the other two guys as well?
I have a hard time saying no. That's my problem.
Yeah, you and I both, brother. Yeah, I think I mean
another way that
Ken has done
and reduce
that is
and we have reduced staffing, so it's hard. We have a lot of stuff to get done, so it's hard not to dive down in, but it does take discipline for sure.
Yeah. I know, piggybacking off what Ken said about delegation, like even like coaching, like second coach is a big part of Kata, especially as we're learning Kata. And Ken has entrusted me as a second coach as a backup for him. And so that's been helpful too, of like recognizing that like we need more breadth as well. So that's not just delegating the shit that Ken doesn't want to do, it's delegating even some like important coaching opportunities. So really good. Cool. Well, we're at the end of our time. We have a minute left. So thank you everyone for coming. I'm going to post into the chat my call to action so you can actually see what it looks like. And also there's some details in there. So first off, thank you for joining us. It was really a great time to spend like one day out of the last 4 months with each of you. And due to our increasing interest in Kata, this call has been an example of that. That's our next topic. So the date and time and details and who and all that fun stuff is not decided yet. So I don't have anything to give you right now, but I will email something out for as far as like a sign up goes shortly. And then also I put in there the link to our Waste Tour website. We recently improved the website, and there's actually a way that you can actually select a date just straight from there. So you don't have to do like the telephone game back and forth for dates and stuff like that. So if you're ready to book a Waste Tour, just go on there and sign up. So cool. Well, I'll see you guys hopefully all in a month. And hopefully you guys are staying safe and having a good time. So thank you.